Welcome to Rise and Thrive Women, journeying from surviving to thriving after abuse. We're your hosts, Susie and Heather, and we are so glad you're here. If you've experienced the heartache of toxic relationships, you know the feeling of being lost, broken, and unsure of where to turn next. And this show is for you.
We're here to inspire, educate, and empower women like you, no matter where you are on your healing journey. Together, we will challenge the misconceptions surrounding domestic abuse, explore practical solutions, and listen to incredible survivor stories that remind us all that there is a brighter, better future waiting for you. It's time to rise, thrive, and choose yourself. Let's begin this healing journey together.
Yes, let's do. How are you doing, Heather?
I'm fantastic. How about you, Susie?
I'm doing pretty good. Heading into the 4th of July holiday here, obviously. So just trying to get as much done today as possible before tomorrow. But yeah,
Speaking of
doing good.
Independence Day, I hope any man or woman watching this episode today is searching for their Independence Day.
Yes. We were actually just talking about that within our Rise and Thrive Women group in a post that I made this morning. It was all about things that we feel, but we don't always say out loud. And I
Yeah.
shared something that pops into my mind quite often as just a single parent and feeling overwhelmed, and encourage other people to share to try to just lighten that load off their hearts and their minds and have their own little independence from those kind of thoughts. So yeah, it's Independence Day means a lot of different things, I think. So, anyways, before we jump into our topic today, again, we just wanted to share our something that is really near and dear to our hearts, which is our Rise and Thrive Women's membership that we just launched. Gosh, when was that? Was that last month or has it been longer than that? I don't remember.
It's been a
It
couple
feels,
months, I think.
yeah, yeah. So we wanted to just talk about that really quick. Do you want to share a little bit as well, Heather?
Yeah, sure. So it's a private off social media space for women healing from narcissistic abuse. And when we use the term narcissistic abuse, we use that as a language to help others, to help attract others who are going through emotional manipulation, emotional abuse, psychological abuse. Those who are in relationships where you just feel like something's off and maybe you're searching for the words to describe your experience, and narcissistic abuse sums it up really well. It doesn't mean that you have to have a partner that has been diagnosed with narcissistic personality
Right.
disorder. It's just a term it's a term that kind of captures all the different manipulation and abuse tactics that we cover in our Rise and Thrive Women group. So, whether you're still in it, figuring out how to leave, or rebuilding soon after leaving, there is a spot in there for you. There is content in there for you. And there are women in there that are where you were or where you are. And it's a safe space for you to come join us and have a circle of friends that are going
Mhm.
through what you're going through and helping you heal and, move along this journey.
Yeah, and that community piece is so important. In addition to that, once you're inside the membership community, you get access to any past workshops Heather and I have done, plus any upcoming workshops, which we have one coming up next Saturday that's all about how to balance your nervous system and how to identify that when you're dysregulated and resource yourself out of that trauma response. So that's another example of something you could attend live or get a recording of once we've done the workshop. So as a member, you get access to that. You get access to bi-monthly live coaching sessions with Heather and I. Um, as well as training modules. So we've got training modules, like Heather said, for people that are in these different phases. For those who are still in the abusive relationship, there are trainings on everything from like what narcissistic abuse is to what all do we have in there?
There's
how
best
to how to plan.
practices for divorcing a narcissist too, like how to, like legal strategy, things like that. We're not giving legal advice, but based on our personal and professional experience, we do have courses in there designed to help get you ready and put your best foot forward if you're thinking about filing or kind of in the middle of
Mhm.
something like that. Sorry,
Right.
Susie.
No, no, thank you. My mind went blank. It's part of being in my mid 40s, I found out. Um, but Yeah, we've got how to plan your exit safely if you are looking to leave, all kinds of really great stuff in there. So it's a really great value. Right now, we have it priced at $19 a month. You can get in there and try it out for free for 7 days and just see if it's something that's a good fit for you. And we've done the calculation that really all those resources that we have available. Plus, we give discounts on our coaching there as well. If you remember, it's like a $3,000 value, and we're only charging $19 a month. So it's a great deal, and we feel really good about the value that's inside.
Yeah, I
So
agree. I don't know if I can't remember if you mentioned our bi-monthly meetings as well. We have group calls in there. So if you
yeah.
are in there looking at any of the content or any of the courses, know that there are live Q&A or group sessions that Susie and I host twice a month. So you can come with questions that you have personally or questions about the content that you're looking at, or just join to be there and be supportive for, our fellow survivors.
Right. Yeah.
If you are interested in joining, we'd love to have you. The link is in the show notes on Susie's channel. And if you're watching this on my Instagram, that link is in my bio. And if you're watching this on my YouTube, it's also within like the show notes as well. So we would love to welcome you, and no pressure. Within that 7 days, you can, even hop on a welcome call with Susie and myself. It's risk-free, truly no pressure. We wanted to create a space for women that feel kind of lost and need a guide. And it's a community that we didn't have. And so we're just passionate about creating that space.
Yeah. And we wanted it to be accessible. We know not everyone can afford private coaching, and even therapy sometimes. And at $20 a month, being able to access to trauma recovery practitioners, we felt like was a really great value on top of everything else that we've got in there. So
For sure.
come hang out with us.
Without further ado, sorry for going off on that. Today's topic is about how emotional abuse erodes even some of the most confident women. And so when we think about powerful women as immune to abuse, and sometimes we're so separated from that word abuse that we don't even realize that we're in abuse. So please understand that whenever we say abuse, we're talking about manipulation. We're talking about the emotionally toxic or emotionally immature relationships where you feel like you are either in a downward spiral or you just keep coming back to the same place and you feel like you're going through this cycle. It's like a roller coaster of emotions. So I just wanted to be clear in that because there's so many people that don't identify with that term abuse. So many of the most competent, ambitious, and outwardly successful women are quietly crumbling inside. And they're managing teams day to day. They're being emotionally eroded by night. And it's typically these relationships that we find ourselves in, and we are terrified of what people are going to think about us or whether or not we are going to be stigmatized if we come forward and say, hey, there's something not right in this relationship, or even being fearful of what our partner may do if we do decide to leave and they lose control, and having that fear that, they're going to ruin my reputation. They're going to embarrass me in my job. And, I've built this successful career in this successful business or whatever. How am I going to move forward, or how do I get out of this? And so this episode is for the women who's crushing their goals but can't seem to escape the anxiety, the self-doubt, and the confusion.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many women living this reality. And I think you and I can both attest to women we've worked with who are, and we talked about this on our last episode, high level corporate executives, doctors, teachers, all these successful women who carry so much shame because either they're experiencing this in their relationship and they're just like, how do they let this happen to me, or they're out and they're having those same feelings of shame of why did I put up with that as long as I did, and like you said, what will people think of me if they know that I tolerated that or that was my
For
reality.
sure.
So
And
Yeah.
I'm so
So
sorry, just real quick, I also want to say that this episode isn't to downplay any other woman in abuse. Susie and I started doing some of
yeah.
these segments because, I mean, as we've joined our local chambers and we've met nonprofits, there are so many people that when they hear what we do, they assume that that this sort of abuse help is needed in shelters, domestic
Mhm.
violence shelters or substance abuse centers, and that is the case. Like there's a high demand for our services in those spaces, and we participate. But we
Mhm.
wanted to talk about this because people forget or people don't realize that it's not just those situations. It's not just like the ground level of what happens when you end up in domestic abuse or domestic violence. It is everywhere and it impacts
Mhm.
everyone, even the most successful women. So I just wanted to
Yeah.
clear that up. Sorry, Susie, go
No,
ahead.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that. Yeah, absolutely. So we thought we would just start to talk about what does this look like for this woman that we're kind of speaking to today. Um, First of all, abuse is not always physical. I think people think domestic violence, they think physical abuse, but domestic violence actually includes a number of things. It includes financial abuse, emotional abuse,
Coercive control.
isolation, coercive control, all those things, and those are the more subtle things, right? The things that happen behind closed doors that oftentimes someone's experiencing and no one even knows about it, because you are like on the outside, you're living this life where everything appears to be in order and amazing, right? You've got the amazing job, you've got a great house, you've got the kids, you've got all of these ducks in a row, but when you are home, it's a completely different scenario because abuse can be so subtle. There's a lot of different manipulation tactics that can happen, micro invalidations of your success and things that you've been able to accomplish in your career, policing your tone of voice, like all of these very subtle controlling things can be going on behind closed doors that do chip away at your confidence and your feeling of being a powerful woman. So you might feel like, I've got it all together, I've got this amazing job, I really should feel powerful and in charge of every aspect of my life, but you feel somewhat powerless or maybe really powerless, and you feel really small. So some examples are, maybe you get a promotion at work and you talk to your partner about it, and instead of being met with like, enthusiasm and congratulations, you hear something like, well, let's see how long that lasts. um, Being told you're too intense or too sensitive, not feminine enough because you've got a powerful position or a powerful job, being told you care too much about your work or you spend too much time there. All these different ways of kind of planting the seed that you're not good enough or something's wrong with you.
Yep.
So again, all of these things just slowly chip away at your confidence, and really just, I feel like your identity as a person, um, it can all really get affected by these subtle
Yeah,
types
my
of abuse.
personal favorite, like in terms of the promotion example you just used, my personal
Yeah.
favorite is what did you do to get that? It doesn't seem
Oh.
like you do enough. Like you don't even do that much from what I've gathered. So why are they just handing you more money? You must be doing something. Like
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
one is a personal favorite.
Yeah.
And the not feminine one, if you're because we spend so much time in the office or working on whatever it is that we're getting paid to do,
Mhm.
sometimes it takes time away from our kids and our family life, and we're attacked as women as not being
Mhm.
feminine enough. Like you must not have the motherly instincts. And so
Right.
then they put you in this constant state of having to do it all.
Mhm. Right. Or flat out just being told you're not a good mom because you
Yep.
care about your job. You prioritize your job more than your kids or whatever it might be, but obviously you don't want to be spending a great deal of time at work, but we have a lot of pressure
We have
to
bills to pay and
perform.
responsibilities.
Right, keep the job, pay the bills, do all the things. So,
So let's talk a little bit about how it targets your strengths. So why successful women are specifically targeted. This isn't an inclusive list, I will say that. I'm sure that you can find a ton of other resources online that tell you more, or that can add to this list, but there's definitely a power trip over being able to control a powerful woman. Sorry, I'm getting my charger if you see me
oh,
kind of
you're
rustling
fine.
around.
You're fine.
But there are insecure men who want the appearance of having that, perfect American family. There's something to say about their superiority and their ability and their power trip when they can take a perfectly competent woman that possesses, the confidence and self-worth that they don't, um, and control her and slowly strip that confidence away. So there's definitely a power trip and an ego boost and being able to slowly erode, some of the most confident women by using some of those examples that Susie just talked about.
Yeah, absolutely.
It also adds to their appearance. So having successful women makes their appearance better, like their outwardly appearance to the public. It makes them feel as though they are projecting a certain image out to the public, and that's very important for narcissistic abusers. I think I'll just leave those two unless you have anything you want to add, Susie.
Um, no, I don't think so.
It's a
No.
lot about I think it's a whole lot about power dynamics and being
Yeah.
able to like rein in these strong, confident women, and being able to control their move. Not only that, being able to control like your finances and all of the things that you're able to provide them
Mhm.
with
Mhm.
financially, not just the image that comes along
Right.
with.
For sure.
Also, narcissistic partners often seek intelligent, competent women for status. I think I just talked about that.
Mhm.
But they resent the power. So,
Mhm.
in in reality, subconsciously, somewhere, they don't possess that confidence. Their ego, they may have a very big and powerful ego, but it is a very fragile one.
Mhm.
And they resent their partners for having the confidence and having the courage to step up and climb the corporate ladder or make their business successful or whatever it is that
Yeah.
drives that person. And so deep down, they resent that. They resent the success because they don't
Mhm.
feel capable of achieving it themselves. So they just make you feel like garbage about
Mhm.
yourself instead.
Right. So they've got this kind of trophy they can hold up when they're out in public, which is you, which is this woman we're talking about. But then behind closed doors, or even sometimes in public, if it's a little whisper in the ear, they will tear you down
Yes.
because, like you said, their insecurities are triggered by that, even though they want that thing. So, yeah, that makes total sense.
And then there's a time when your confidence becomes a threat. Because when you're confident and you're sure of yourself and you have the clarity that you need to make whatever decisions you need to make in your life, that means they don't have control over your thoughts. They don't have control over your decisions, and they're extremely insecure. And in their mind, the only way to keep you secure in this relationship is to have that power dynamic over you. So that's a lot of like what happens when gaslighting, when you're in a relationship with a ton of emotional manipulation where you're constantly feeling responsible for their emotions and their reactions. um, it creates this it just creates this cycle in your mind in terms of like trauma responses and it narrows your window of tolerance. And what ends up happening is all of these different cycles and all of these different conflicts, it strips away the clarity, and you become confused because on one side, this person, even in public, is building you up and making you feel loved and bragging
Bragging
about
about
you and
you,
how great
right?
you are. And then behind closed doors, they're a completely different person. And it's confusing to you to know which one is real and or which one is right. And you stay thinking that, you know, that you're fighting for this person over here. And so when you become more confident and sure in your abilities to understand, like, what's happening, that's a threat for them because they no longer have control.
Hmm. Yeah, you summed that up well, for sure. So yeah, just to kind of piggyback off of that, what you were describing, that confusion, with the experiences of, whether it is what you described of like being put up on a pedestal out in public, but then being torn down in private, and not being able to really make sense of that situation and feeling confused. There's a word for that, and that's called cognitive dissonance. That's where you're having two different conflicting beliefs or feelings towards one thing. Because in these abusive relationships, things aren't always bad. There are these moments where your partner might be bragging about you and saying all these great things, but then these moments where they're tearing you down. So it creates that cognitive dissonance, and you end up, feeling like a shell of who you used to be. I hear that a lot from women. Like, I don't even know who I am anymore, and I feel like I've lost my spark, and I just don't even know who I am. So that can be an outcome from dealing with all of those things. And it can also create this imposter syndrome too, that can carry over into the workplace, where if you are hearing things like, after something good happening at work or getting a promotion, if you're hearing, well, we'll see how long that lasts, or these negative comments, it just plants that seed in your mind that I don't deserve this, and I'm getting into a position that maybe I'm going to fail at. So you might find yourself almost like sabotaging your own career and your own things that are used to be important to you, because you're hearing this other messaging, behind closed doors. So
Yeah. I will say that that's a really big one. What a lot of people don't understand is that uncertainty and the constant digs and the constant insults making you doubt yourself. What happens is that slowly carries over into every space in your life,
mm,
especially work, because that's where we spend the majority of our time every day. And so what I have noticed is there are a lot of women in these sessions, they start to think that everyone around them thinks exactly like their abuser, even if they don't call their partner their abuser. But the thoughts and the manipulation that happens, what ends up happening is they finally convince you of all of these things that they say over and over and over again. And what you see, how you see that carrying over in your job is constantly apologizing for probably things that aren't even your fault. Like,
mhm,
oh, I'm sorry that I named this meeting the wrong thing, or I left this person off of that meeting. I didn't know that they were part of this project. Like those sort of things. And that little thing will disrupt your nervous system at work. And
mhm.
then it feeds like the self-doubt and the lie that you're getting from your abusive partner at home. So I just think that it's really important to recognize, like, if you were in a position where you were confident and killing it at work, and now, you had this relationship, whether you're still in it or you've left, and you still have this like uncertainty about what the hell happened to you and where your confidence is in the office. A lot of times when you really start to think back and dig into when did this happen, what you'll find is, oh my God, I assume that everybody thinks like my abuser because I've gotten so used to apologizing and explaining myself all the time. So,
Yeah, yeah, it becomes like a knee jerk reaction
Yeah.
that becomes ingrained in you.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Um, and so I think so in terms of regaining your power, nervous system regulation is the foundation of recovery. And if you don't know what nervous system regulation is, I will just say this. When you say things like, I don't know why that bothered me so much. I don't know why I reacted that way. I don't know why I can't get out of bed, or um, I like I just feel this tightness in my chest. Like those are signs that your nervous system is dysregulated.
Mhm.
I don't know if you have anything that
Brain
you would.
fog.
What? Oh yeah, brain
Brain
fog is a good
fog, or
one.
just not feeling like you're on top of things at work, feeling like you're dropping the ball, even feeling like apathetic about work where you used to care and suddenly you're like, I don't give a shit about this anymore, like that I think is a very real thing for many people. So,
That is a really good one. Thank you for bringing that up. But
yeah.
because Susie and I talk about nervous system regulation, we talk about dysregulated, but I don't. I just want to make sure that we're reaching the people who may not know what that means. So if you feel like that, or you find yourself saying things, a lot of times that's a sign of dysregulation.
Mhm.
And so learning how to bring that back into balance and reground yourself is going to be the key to your survival and your healing.
Mhm.
And then reconnecting with your values and identity changes the game. I actually wrote about this in my book. After acknowledging that you go through abuse and understanding that that is in fact what you experienced, when you come to terms with that, and then you're trying to heal and figure out like how do you move forward. One of the things that I talk about is establishing your values. A lot of people, when they get out of these relationships, they're lost, and you're
Mm.
disconnected with yourself because you've basically turned into a chameleon, and you're an extension of the narcissistic partner. And so you think that those are your values, but what you will find is they were never your values to begin with.
Yeah,
um, and starting with a
totally.
clean slate and understanding what that even means. That can be a month, that can be 6 months, that can be 2 years of
Mhm.
discovery and trying to figure out like, who am I?
Right.
And you start with value. So reconnecting with what those values are, morally, professionally, spiritually, whatever your identity
Mhm.
is, reconnecting and rebuilding those, it will completely change the game in terms of
Yeah,
healing.
that's huge. Mhm.
Another one is support, coaching, and community are non-negotiables. And I'm not saying that just to plug our community. I am saying that because when you are surrounded with people who don't understand your experience, and quite frankly aren't even convinced that you experienced abuse, that is soul crushing.
Mhm.
It's dismissive. It feels discouraging. It feels like your support system doesn't believe you. And that
Yeah.
happens a lot. I'm not saying, I don't know who's watching this, but it does happen a lot. And so being able to find support is going to be key. And that's why Susie and I have the community that we have, and it's also why we coach.
Mhm.
So coaching, therapy, community, all of those things are going to be the key to your survival, because you need help sifting through these lies, right? Like you need help sifting through, figuring out what's truth and what was an illusion.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's helpful to have support on the other thing that you touched on right before that, which is helping you bring yourself back to you again, helping you remember who you are and what your values are. Sometimes you need support even just getting back to that again because you've been told how to think and what to do and all the things for so long that sometimes support's needed there
100%.
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Lastly, you're not too much. You've just been made to feel small.
Mhm.
So I will just leave that one as is, unless you want to add something to that.
No, I mean, I think that's a great way to just kind of tie it up is embrace, like, yeah, you've been made to feel bad about the accomplishments you've had, or the fact that you are ambitious, or the fact that you're successful, or the fact that you're juggling it all. You've been made to feel bad about that. A lot
Yeah.
of women have, and it's time to celebrate everything you've done and not,
It's time to
uh,
celebrate your too muchiness.
yes, your amazingness and your bigness.
Or
So,
I love Alice in Wonderland. I don't know if you've, but Johnny Depp as the Mad Hatter is one of my favorites.
yeah.
And he's like, you've lost your muchiness. Like you were
Oh,
much more muchier.
yeah. Yeah.
So,
Don't lose that muchiness, ladies.
yeah.
Own it. Um, Great. Oh, I didn't see any questions come through. Did you see any questions from our
No, it's
viewers?
frozen again. My
Oh
Instagram keeps
no.
freezing. So I don't know. We did have some we had a lot of lovely ladies watching us, but um our faces are frozen on the Instagram screen. So if
Darn
you
it.
are watching us on Instagram and you can see us, say hi because I can't
Yeah.
see you.
Yeah. And if you're watching the replay, let us know if any of this resonates with you. We would love to hear from you. But I think a lot of people are busy with the 4th of July holiday tomorrow and everything. So
Yeah.
we can go ahead and wrap it up then. So, again, I think we've talked about our membership. Check that out if you are interested. Again, the link is in the show notes on my channel. Heather's got that in her bio over on Instagram, as well as the show notes on her YouTube channel. So check that out. Message us if you have questions, or run into any issues when you're on the platform. But we would love to welcome you in there.
Yes.
So with that, we can go ahead and close it out for the day.
Yes, yes. Also, the first 10 to join today, which is July 3rd, 2025, the first 10 to join today get a free one-on-one session with me or
Ooh,
Susie. So
yay.
go ahead and get in there today.
Yes, do
That's
it.
what is that, $130 value right there.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
we would love to have you, seriously. But thank you all for joining us on this episode of Rise and Thrive Women. We hope today's conversation has inspired you to take charge of your healing journey, whether it's a new perspective, renewed hope, or the courage to move forward. It is something worth celebrating.
And remember, your story is still unfolding, and your past does not define you. Within you lies strength, power, and limitless potential. So embrace it. Trust and follow your intuition with courage. Be bold, be brave, and always trust yourself. Until we meet again, take care, rise above, and thrive. You've got this.
Bye,
All
ladies.
right. Bye, everybody. Happy 4th.